Jason Evans, welcome back to the Rocky Mountain Raider podcast.
Thank you, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Exciting news on your end of things, and we're just going to dive right in. Why not just, get to the headlines? Brand new book from you, The Righteous and the Damned.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, I got when I first got into writing fiction, I was writing historical fiction, and then um, I had an idea for a story, and a friend of mine who was working for one of those hybrid publishers, they were indie, but they were gathering a group of other authors around me. He said, "Well, why don't you try this?" And I wrote a Space Marines kind of science fiction story, and it just sat unpublished for a couple of years for a variety of reasons. And I just thought, I'm an indie author. I have it. I might as well publish it. The other part of that equation was I'm going to be the Toastmaster at Mile High Con this weekend, the 25th, 26th, and 27th.
Wow.
And they said, the Toastmaster gets an hour in the main ballroom to do whatever they want. And because we usually choose authors, they usually do a reading. And I thought, it's been like 5 years since I did a book launch. Why not? So I decided to clean up my copy. I got with an editor, and I got with a proofreader, and then my wife had never read the book, and I found out the woman that I'm married to is the best proofreader of all because she catches everything. So she proofread it as well, and so now I have the final copy out here. Let me
Yeah.
show you. And I like the book. It moves. I've been very fortunate to know a lot of Marines after they've left the service. And so I kind of wanted to get the military part right. And I've had a couple of different servicemen say that the tone is on par with what military service is like. So that makes me feel very, very special. So yeah, I'm just really excited about this book. So
Wow. Well, take us to the setting and tell us about the story. What happens?
So it takes place in the 23rd century. There is an ongoing, almost 100-year war between humanity and what is called the Sathar. And the Sathar are almost like worm people. They have weeping skin. They have bundles of clusters where their eyes would be. They're very violent. And so the humans give them the nickname of maggot. The maggots are coming, right? And it's very much a conventional war situation. And our main character is a gunnery sergeant named Montgomery Ajax, and everybody calls him Gunny. And after winning several awards at a beginning battle, he's told by his commanding officer, like, look, you win a war and then you immediately get drunk and get arrested. You're bored, Marine. So I'm going to give you more authority. And Ajax doesn't want it, right? He just wants to kill maggots. That's all he wants to do with his life. And so there's this tension there. While he is debating with his other Marines about whether or not he should take this promotion, they're like, do it, do it, do it. It's good for you. Um, a giant attack occurs by the Sathar. So they attack on several worlds. I established that there's about 18 or 20 different habitable worlds, and they attack 14 of the 18. And so now it gets serious. And so Ajax and his Marines are planning on supporting one planet. And when the admiral of the orbital platform that they're on starts giving out orders, he goes, "No, you guys have to go to this backwater mining moon, and you have to evacuate some VIPs, very important scientists." And they're like, "Why are we doing this?" And the Navy, the fleet as they call it, they're so harried, and they've got so many that they actually farm out the transportation of these Marines to pirates. right? The pirates get a universal amnesty for all their past crimes if they take the Marines there and bring them back, right? And so they get to this planet, they get to this moon, and they're immediately assaulted by the Sathar, and everything goes cattywampus. And so the survivors of the landing team, they have to get together, find the other survivors, make it into the local town, find the VIPs, and get them off the planet somehow. And that's the start of the book. And what makes it worse is that all the officers die, and so Ajax is in charge of everything. He's in charge of probably about a company's worth of guys, so about 80 or 90 guys, and he's got to deal with the politics of the civilians, and he's got to try to find transportation because they're pretty convinced that the pirate ship has been blown out of the sky. So it's a lot. It's a
Wow.
lot for him.
That you said that's just relatively speaking the beginning.
Yeah, that's yeah, and then it goes bad. Then it gets really bad. So,
Okay. Wow. Um, Written for adventure or written with a message about this world, the world we live in?
um, I'm the type of writer who believes theme kind of bubbles up from the person's values, and I don't think I meant it, but I don't think I intentionally did it, but my values are about if you do the right things, eventually you're going to cut a break. The universe will catch you a break. And that kind of happens in the third act of this book as well. But this is primarily an adventure story. There's
Uh-huh.
an adventure story, there's a horror element. Um, so yeah, but my personal values obviously are going to be infused in the book. And so the characters eventually will cut a break. I won't say what kind of break, but they'll catch a break because they do the right thing.
Yeah. Are there references? I take it we're out in space for the vast
Yeah.
majority. Are there references to what's happening back on Earth?
No, actually, I make a point of not talking about Earth. There is one scene after the Sathar do their massive attack where there's a delayed broadcast from Earth, and the government's gonna like, we're gonna handle this. This is gonna be done. We've gone through this before, and that's about it. Like these guys are focused on fighting the war.
Yeah.
Um, but at no point in time, other than that scene, do we even talk about it at that point.
Yeah.
So
What drew you to, I mean, you told a little story about science fiction, but making that switch from historical fiction to science fiction, how did you, like any writer, how do you know you're going to spend X amount of time working on a new book? How do you make that final decision? Like, I'm going to invest however long it's going to take, because it's a big commitment. How do you make that decision?
I've been very blessed in the fact that I am really good with coming up with story ideas and sometimes settings. In fact, I have a couple of settings running around in the back of my head right now. I don't even have a story for it, but but the setting keeps hitting me. And so what had happened was the person I was going to work with, and they'll remain nameless, um, thought that a particular genre was going to get really popular among indie authors, and it was called paranormal space opera. So basically, all the paranormal elements in a sci-fi, and it didn't. And so he decided to cancel our contract. Um, but before that had happened, I thought, well, paranormal elements and space operas. Uh, okay, I think I could do that. I could do something, some. I could use horror elements in a sci-fi because that's been done before, and that's comfortable for me. Something like an Aliens, right? But a little bit more familiar to the paranormal market. And I don't want to give too much away, but
Yeah.
I decided to do that. I decided on a setting. Um, and the trick for me was deciding on a main character, right? And as I started writing the outline for the novel, everything else kind of popped up, like the subplots about like I have a subplot about what the humanities government is doing and how that may not necessarily, they may have had the best intentions, but it goes cattywampus, right? I have a subplot about the scientists on this planet that they're trying to protect and the other civilians conflicting on a regular basis because the scientists are hoarding resources. Um, I have a subplot, a little bit of tension, a conflict between the civilians and the military because they're just not used to them being around. And the military is saying, we have a mission, we're going to support this mission, and your concerns are they're not even secondary on our list because we have to do this mission, right? Your protection, your safety is primary, but we're not doing runs out because you want batteries. We're we're not going out there to do stuff because you want to be more comfortable. Um we have a mission, and if that upsets you, we're sorry, but we're the military. That's what we have to do. So
Yeah.
I play with a lot of those in a couple of scenes, and hopefully people will enjoy it. Hopefully people will enjoy it. So I particularly would love to hear the opinion of former Marines and other service people and see what they say. So
Yeah. Yeah. Biggest challenge from or biggest contrast, I guess, historical fiction versus science fiction. Was it a completely different headspace or lots?
it was a completely different headspace. And the thing about historical fiction is that there's always this looming figure behind you saying you have to double check to make everything's accurate, right? So it's not enough that you have Abraham Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln meeting General Grant. If you don't have them meeting in a historical fiction story on the day they actually met, someone is going to give you a 2-star review on Amazon, right? But it goes further than that. If you mention the clothing that Abraham Lincoln is wearing, and you get how the suit was dyed wrong, or if somebody brings up it was hand created, right? If you get one of those little details wrong, somebody will beat their breast and clutch their pearls. And what I love about this kind of science fiction, I don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah.
It'll take me, and the thing is, I have 2 degrees in history, so researching is not hard for me, but it still takes me 3 to 6 months to write a 80,000 to 100,000 word novel in historical fiction, regardless of the timeline. This book, Mark, took me 5.5 weeks to
What?
write.
What?
It took me, yeah, and I was working a full-time job. I was just blowing through it because I didn't have to. There's a couple of like basic physics things I had to fact check. I had fact check a couple of things about chemistry and electricity, but I just blew right through it. It is a fun, fast read with laser weapons and spaceships and strange alien creatures that have no basis in real science. And I hope people love it. I hope it takes their breath away.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I was just about to mention my favorite thing to watch for, especially in Star Treks and things like that, is they're 8 billion light years from Earth and they have a situation, they have to go down to a planet. And it just happens to have the perfect air to be able to breathe.
Well, and the thing that I agree with you, but on top of that, what do they do with alien microbes? Like I've heard it in several different shows how the transporter will find these and take them out, right? Either destroy them or put them back on the planet. But that's what always gets me. Like you can breathe the planet air, but what happens when they're microbes and they're organisms and stuff like that get into you, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but I guess Star Trek has the perfect answer to that. But other sci-fi, God help them. So
What's your favorite sort of sci-fi books or television movies? Are you pretty well steeped in it?
yeah, I used to watch Star Trek religiously. I also I'm a Gen Xer, so my baby boomer mother took me to Star Wars when I was 8, which was the absolute wrong thing to do because now they know that kids that young can't process tension, which is why Gen X is like kind of obsessed with Star Wars. Like I would dream about Star Wars as a 13 or 14-year-old. And so I have enjoyed a certain amount of the space fantasy, I guess that's what they call it, that Star Wars is, but I've also Star Trek. I've also enjoyed Aliens and Terminator, and just I like the questions they ask, right? I like the questions they like. Me personally, I think I leaned a little bit more towards dystopia a little bit. I don't know why that is, but but I like Star Trek first. I think it's this new show that they have out. It's called Star Trek: Strange New World. I am loving that. I am so loving that. Um,
Yeah.
I love the way they do honor to the ideas and spirit of what Star Trek is supposed to be. So yeah, I'm just loving that to death. So
Yeah, we loved Star Trek Discovery too. With a lot of action, the mycelium network, and they'd be able to, not just warp speed, but you know, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. Really good
yeah,
stories.
yeah,
Um,
really good stuff.
any question in your mind that there's life out there?
Oh, I mean, just the math says that there has to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
The question is, will we ever get to a point where we'll find it?
yeah.
You know,
And
uh,
and
I mean, I don't know. Physics is pretty solid. Einsteinian physics is pretty solid. Hopefully, we'll realize somebody didn't carry the two somewhere and find that we will be able to do faster than light travel or warp speed or something like that. Because it's in human nature to explore, right? One of the things that we kind of um, have an itch for is wonder, the wonder of the new, you know. Um, so yeah, as long as there are humans who have this passion for it, they'll be pressing against the laws of nature and seeing where we go with that. And hopefully we'll be able to find it out and allow ourselves to travel beyond the stars. You know,
yeah.
I would just settle for manned flight to Mars in my lifetime. That would be kind of fun, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't even think we can have manned flight outside of Earth's orbit because the radiation from the sun would kill us all without the magnetic field of the Earth. So we have to solve that problem first. So
Oh, there might be manned flight to Mars. Doesn't sound like there's a really easy way to get them back. That's the issue. Even if So,
well, if they leave the magnetic field of the Earth, the radiation from the sun will kill them instantly. So you got to solve that. And if you can solve that, you can. I mean, if I was 22 and healthy and had was on the path to multiple PhDs in physics, I would go to Mars and with the idea of never coming back. That's that's perfectly fine with me.
yeah,
Uh,
I think that sounds pretty appealing to a lot of folks right about now.
yeah. um, but there are options. I just read something that said that there might be an underground ocean because they keep finding water locked in some rocks and some forms of soil.
Well, that's
Uh,
the Jupiter Moon mission they just launched. That's going to that Jupiter Moon that they
yeah,
found that might be just completely covered. There might be ice underneath all the rocks, and if we have water, you have a good chance of having something life lifelike.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That would be nice.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So changing topics here. For those who haven't been to Mile High Con, and I'm one of them, it sounds like an absolute zoo, and it sounds like an absolute blast.
It is. This is the 56th Mile High Con. It started out as a regular comic book convention, and it kind of grew with the times. One of the things that's really surprising to me, because I've gone to Myth and Legends Con and Anomaly Con and a lot of these other conventions, these including Denver Fan Expo and Mile High Con. Um, I'm not Mile High Con, Denver Comic Con. Mile High Con has a skewed older demographic, people who are in their 50s and 60s, principally because it's been around for 56 years. So some of these people have been going to this con since the 70s, right? And in some ways, that's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. It's very family friendly. It's a smaller con. It's not like Denver Fan Expo or what Denver Comic Con was like, but you can literally, if you got kids who are 5 or 6 and they're reasonably trained to be polite, you can just let them run wild in the hotel and they'll be perfectly safe. That's one of the things I like about Mile High Con. Women who need to breastfeed their kids feel perfectly safe in the middle of a panel to do it. Nobody shames them or looks at them funny. Um, the safety and well-being of the convention goers is really important to the organizers. So, and I want to give a shout out to Meg Ward. She's an amazing woman, uh, and I can't wait till the con starts again. They've tried very hard to make a very inclusive space for everybody. So
That's great. And you were a busy man, busy writer, busy teacher at Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers Colorado Gold this year as well.
I taught 3 classes and I hosted a table Saturday night. And then yeah, it was a lot. I remember um we were not getting a lot of good sleep the couple of nights before the con, which was never a good idea. And always go to bed early before you go to the Colorado Gold.
Yeah.
Always. Um, and I dragged myself out of bed for a Friday morning, 8 a.m. to 12 noon self-publishing course. I was teaching with Melissa Coons. Couldn't even be there because the hurricane in Florida canceled her flight, so we had to do everything through Zoom
Oh, wow.
uh, live. And I did not look good. And the people who they were like, Jason, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not. So they kind of made sure I got to my room in time and then someone came and brought me coffee. I felt very, very pampered. But yeah, it was a lot. But people loved my classes. I had an amazing time. The the editor and agent panel Saturday at lunch was absolutely amazing. I want to congratulate Angie Hodap for winning the Jasmine Award, I believe. So it was a good time, and what I liked is that it was filled. We were back to capacity. So shout out to Kate for that as well. So
Yeah, the energy was fantastic. There was,
absolutely.
yeah, really great. Very good. Very good. Um, well, as we wrap up, always like to give the recommendation of a book or a writer to pay it forward a little bit.
Yeah. Mariah Ackerman, who has been going to RMFW for a couple of years, she writes romance. My wife really loves her books. She does quirky meetup, almost romantic comedies with open door sex scenes. And she's very quick to tell you what she does and does not do. And she's a delight. She's a delight personally. She's a delight as an author. They're really good books. The book that my wife is currently reading is called Somebody to Love. So,
Fantastic. So many great independently published books coming out all the time.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We are definitely living in a renaissance of literature.
Yep. And just real quickly, The Righteous and the Damned is the first in a series, right?
It is. It's the first in a series. Um, the characters will we'll meet more of this looming threat that is going to go on while fighting a war against the Sathar, and see what happens when the threat grows exponentially and expands to multiple worlds. Like, how are they going to handle that? There will be new allies and new enemies along the way, and we'll just see where it goes. So,
Very good. Well, Jason, thanks for your time. We'll catch up with you down the road.
absolutely. Take care.